Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's 10 o'clock, so we're going to be timely and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining and greetings. My name is Janae Joseph Smith, and I am the president of the Croix Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Welcome to our second anti-gun violence roundtable. We know this is a daunting and exhausting task, but with us all proactively working together, we know we'll be able to make a difference. And the best way is one bite at a time. So we're hoping that this will be part of this massive elephant called gun violence. We believe that gun violence is a public health crisis. The Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence lists this definition that sums up the most effective way to attack this issue plaguing our community and many others across the country. Public health is a science of reducing and preventing injury, disease, and death, and promoting the health and well-being of populations through the use of data, research, and effective policies and practices. A public health approach to prevent gun violence is a population-level approach that addresses both firearm access and the factors that contribute to and protect from gun violence. This approach brings together institutions and experts across disciplines in a common effort to, 1, define and monitor the problem, 2, identify risk and protective factors, 3, develop and test prevention strategies, and 4, ensure widespread adoption of effective strategies. By using a public health approach, we can prevent gun violence in all its forms and strive towards a health equity where everyone violence. Our first roundtable focused on getting the organizations connected so that everyone could see who all are currently working to fight this menace in our community. Today's roundtable will focus only on those that are actively implementing programs and initiatives to fight against gun violence, and those that are providing services to those affected by gun violence. It is our hope that we will be able to synchronize our activities and support each other's initiatives in order to make them more effective and widespread. Now let's get to work, everyone. The first of our 2 moderators is Clemma Lewis. Ms. Clemma Lewis?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our roundtable. And so our first speaker before we actually get into panelists would be Mr. Norbin Felix Jr., who's a parent that was impacted by gun violence. Mr. Felix Jr., can you please speak first? And good morning, and thank you for being present. We appreciate you.
Sure. Good morning. I what I going through for the last year or so has not been easy, and I know I'm not the only one that is going through a similar situation. I just for that, I just thank God that I'm still standing a year after. Just Sunday, my son that was killed by gun violence, he made a year of being deceased. And he's a statistic on Croix, and that bother me a lot because he's a number, but I do think that I'm not sure how we could help to make St. Croix and the Virgin Islands a better place, but I do think that if we start maybe by coming up with ways at schools to teach our kids to resolve a conflict other than going to violence, that could be very helpful, because I do speak with young men, you know, and they don't even know what's that at times, you know. So you know, I do think that we need to, you know, those that are in the school system, you know, and I do know, I am friends with some teachers and stuff, and I must say I do appreciate with the little bit of resources that we have here in our Virgin Islands, and going through this pandemic has just even, in my opinion, put us back like a whole nother step, because now we don't have in class, you know, student to student and stuff. But you know, I do think that we need to bring some sort of class, or maybe if it's just couple minutes into one class session and speak about resolving a conflict, rather than going, or other than going to gun violence, you know. And I will always say this because you know, I was a young man in the public system, and you know, when I was with my buddies or my peers, I wanted to show out. And sometimes, you know, these kids don't even think about what it'll be doing just to prove a point, you know, which by you proving a point to your friends, them at the end of the day, you messing up yourself, you know. And um, so I do think that, yes, Department of Health, it will take a collaborative effort of different government agencies to come up with different ways. I just think that that way is one, you know, and from there on, you know, other ideas will come up, and we all embrace them, you know. But I do think that resolving teaching how to resolve a conflict will be very beneficial for our young people in our Virgin Islands, sorry.
So, Mr. Felix Jr., thank you so much for coming before us, speaking your heart. You have my condolences again. I know losing loved ones is not easy. Grief is hard and people don't understand. It's going to take time. But thank you for being strong and being here today. We appreciate you, and we appreciate what you said. Thank you. I do want to add, before I introduce the next speaker, that I think you might like hearing this, Mr. Felix, that we're going to hear from them later on. But one of the things DVSAC does is they do go into schools and do conflict resolution. Of course, we need a lot more of it, and we need to spread it out in all the schools. But I think you hit what they say, the nail on the hammer, that definitely we need to do more conflict. And to me, it needs to be a part of the curriculum with all this violence. So again, thank you for speaking up, and we appreciate you. So our next, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start with members of the panelists. And I have some short instructions for you before we get started. Each speaker has 2 minutes, and we will be timing you. We will send up a little flag or a signal to let you know it's time to cut it. We know everybody got a lot to say, but we got a lot of people that have a lot to say. So we want to give everybody a chance to put out there what we need to do to make a difference. So we're asking you to start with a short introduction. We don't want 2-page bios. Your name and where you work and what you do shortly. Quick and short. We want you to talk about your organization action plan. So what kind of action plan do your organization have in terms of eradicating violence in our community? And then what's the projected outcome? So you have the action plan. What do you project as your outcome? And then what is the estimated time? Have you started? Do you have a time frame? Is it a completion? Is it ongoing? And then while you're doing all of that in 2 minutes, which I know it's a lot, I also want you to think about for part 2, what kind of help do you need? What kind of resources you need? What are you looking for from the community to help you carry out your plan? Okay, everybody, I can reiterate that if I need to repeat it, but we will start with our chairperson of our committee, our social action chairperson and our anti-gun violence roundtable committee, Ms. Sandra Satori from Delta Sigma Theta.
Thank you very much, Clemma. Good morning to everyone. My name is Sandra Satori, and I am the chairperson of the chapter Social Action Committee. I am so honored to be here to have a seat at the roundtable. You see, as women leaders in our community, the members of our St. Croix Alumni chapter stand on the shoulders of all those who have been victimized and traumatized due to heartless acts of gun violence. And so we are committed to using the power of our collective voice, of our leadership, and of our influence to bring together organizations such as yours, whose mandate is to end gun violence. Gun violence is not just a crime problem. It is a public health problem first and foremost. It is an economic problem, and it is a social problem. The solution then is not the responsibility of one level of government or one group or one organization. The solution is the responsibility of all of us, whether we're gun owners, law enforcement personnel, health administrators, the legal systems, clergy, family and friends who are in crisis, researchers, businesses, or just individuals. Our chapter then has embraced the mandate to raise our own voice against gun violence and to advocate for the declaration of gun violence here in the territory as a public health epidemic, to support the treatment of each subsystem that makes up our whole. It's not either or. So the solutions that we use must address both the proliferation of guns in our territory, as well as address those who illegally possess them and who are victimized and traumatized by them. And so the resources, our chapter advocate for and seek a change in universal mindset and public policy from a reactionary mindset to one of prevention. Prevention begins long before a shooting occurs. So we push for policy and legislative changes to institute and implement a comprehensive public health approach to gun violence, one that is guided by adequate funding, scientific evidence, risk reduction protocol, mass education training, and counseling. So how do we roll out our action plan? Well, we did this in June of 2021, which was just a few months ago. And so we requested a proclamation from Governor Bryan, bringing awareness to gun violence during that month, which was issued. We had the first virtual roundtable forum, which connected public policymakers. We had nonprofit members, we had members of the clergy, and we had individuals who also are standing on the front line to end the proliferation of gun violence. So what is our anticipated outcome? First and foremost, the declaration of gun violence in the Virgin Islands as a public health epidemic. And we're very strong, we're very vocal on this. Also, activation of an organized consortium of agencies, organizations, clergy members, and individuals such as yourselves to end gun violence. And then we want to engage public sector officials and community-based organizations, ensuring that the mandates that are in place for your agency, your particular organization, to protect the safety and sanctity of our residents are prioritized and implemented.
Thank you, Sandra. That's a mouthful. That was, Go ahead. Sandra, you saying something?
No, I was asking if I made it under 2 minutes.
No,
Yeah, I don't see our timekeeper, so I'm kind of.
this is our time. So I was trying to give you the time so that everybody's aware.
I appreciate it.
How does the time work, Santa? What do you ring?
2 minutes, and then you'll hear this beautiful little chime. Can you hear it?
Okay. Yeah, we hear it. It's low, but we can hear it.
I can turn it up some.
Yeah, turn it up a little bit for people like me. Okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Sandra. That was excellent. Delta rolling it out. So let's move on to our next panelist. Our next panelist is Mr. Irvin Roster. Can you please introduce yourself and come forward?
Thank you. I am Irwin Royster, Director for Community Engagement and Partnerships at East River Family Strengthening Collaborative in Washington, D.C. And let me say thank you to the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated St. Croix Alumni Chapter for this opportunity. The presentation that I'm going to give, or what I'm going to talk about, is our best practices with dealing with gun violence in a certain section of Washington, D.C., and what we have done. And so East River Family Strengthening Collaborative has facilitated the collaboration with clergy in this particular ward. And it's the clergy working along with the police to bring down or decrease the violent crimes that are in this ward of the District of Columbia. Now, this ward has a population of about 70,000 folks. And this ward has seen the homicide rate go from probably 50 up to 280. And so what we're trying to do is reduce those numbers. We've worked with the commander in this particular ward. And again, we were looking at what entity is not at the table. And it was the faith leaders that were not at the table. And the faith leaders are leading this charge to decrease the crime, but we're also bringing in our other partners to make sure, again, that the public health approach that we're using, that our resources are there, and that it's through the utilization of the resources and the resources that exist in the houses of faith is how we are reducing the violence in the ward. And if I have enough time, an example of this is when you talk about public health, I'm happy to hear that, because we meet every first Saturday of the month, and we have work groups that deal with employment, health and health access, housing, and family services. Now, we're just coming out of a pandemic, and what we did is work together with the faith community to do faith in the vaccine, to make sure that that the COVID-19 vaccine was really available to residents. Sometimes there is a resistance or a hesitancy to take something from the government. But when the faith leaders get involved and when the churches get involved, it's more palatable for the community. Also, we've partnered with churches to do some of the activities to reach the homeless population, to reach the substance use population. And the churches are there just meeting the need. And it's the churches and the law enforcement coming together to work to reduce crime in the ward. And we're going to transfer that success to other parts of the city and now to other cities to see that that's working.
Okay, thank you. That was excellent. I think the whole idea of resources, the community, the clergy, and the police coming together is definitely a solution. And I think we've tried to start that here, but somehow we didn't get off, I guess, with COVID-19 and everything else. But thank you so much for participating. So we'll move to our next panelist, which is Mr. Troy A. DeShaber Schuster. I see you on, Mr. Schuster. Can you come forward, please?
Yes, I believe I'm unmuted now.
There we go. Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Lewis, and good morning, sorors of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. My mother, a proud Delta Sigma Theta soror, sends her greetings. And it's a great honor to be with you. I feel almost like I'm part of the Delta Sigma Theta family, growing up around all of the Delta Sigma Theta stuff all my life. Wonderful organization. I thank you for all the work you do in this community and all across the United States. And so I'm the state director of AARP in the Virgin Islands. And we are at our heart an advocacy organization, a social mission organization. And so we are always lobbying the legislature for bills that are impactful. And I'm here today to listen, to learn, to share some of my insights as well, but hoping that I can take away some things so we can craft some meaningful legislation to help to decrease gun violence. But my humble thought and opinion is, number one, I firmly believe that every human being is good. Every human being is intrinsically good, no matter what kind of crime they may commit. But unfortunately, over the course of a person's life, oftentimes bad things happen to them. And sometimes those bad things cause them to do bad things. And so when I look around and I hear about so much gun violence, what I think of is that hurting person who committed the violence. They need healing. No matter how old we are, we all have a little child within us, right? We carry stuff from our childhood. There's so much neglect, there's so much physical abuse and verbal abuse, emotional abuse, there's so much sexual abuse. There are all kinds of things that children are facing, right? And they carry that with them. And then they end up doing bad things later on in their life. And what we do, we end up prosecuting them, putting them in prison, letting them sit there, and then putting them back on the streets. And we have not healed the person. So as a community, I'm hoping that somehow we can find ways to really bring healing. The whole community needs healing, but especially those who are committing crimes. They need healing. They need to be loved, right? They are human beings, even though they've committed terrible acts. So as we continue to move throughout this meeting and throughout the course of our day and our lives individually, I hope that we can reflect on this and try somehow to find ways to bring healing to this whole situation, because that's really the only way we're going to end this. We can talk about taking guns off the street. We can talk about greater penalties for gun violence, etc. But we're just trying to treat symptoms. We're not getting to the underlying illness. So again, thank you for welcoming me here today on behalf of myself as a concerned citizen, a native of St. Croix, a Virgin Islander, and also on behalf of AARP. Thank you for including me.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks again, Mr. Schuster. We appreciate your greetings and give your mother our love as well. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm gonna move to Deputy Commissioner Mario Brooks, because he's in another conference and we definitely want to hear from the police. So this would be a good time. Deputy Commissioner should be on. Maybe he can talk to us about what happened to DARE and SAD and some of the other programs the department have. And what I like the groups to look at when the panelists come, I want you to talk about what action plan you have for gun violence again. What are your outcomes? And what do you plan to do in the community to make a difference? So Deputy Commissioner Brooks, can you please come on? Because we want to catch you in between your workshop. Can you speak now?
Yes, good morning, Ms.
Good morning.
Lewis.
Thank
Good morning
you.
to you and to everyone on the panel and to the listening audience. I know you asked about, and I'll be brief because like I said, I'm running in between two conferences right now. And I do apologize to each and every one of you for that. Relative to the programs that you asked about, we are in the process. We have a new leadership, as you know, our commissioner nominee, Mr. Martinez. we're actually pushing forward with our progress, bringing some of those programs back. There's there, of course, as you mentioned, and there are the others. There's also there's a teen program that we're working on at this time. So you'll be hearing about those programs coming here in the near future. So, and you, Ms. Lewis, and the Women's Coalition, you're well aware of some of these programs. We definitely will be reaching out to you because some of them will entail the Women's Coalition, Family Resource Center, and these different programs. It is so important that we do incorporate these programs, these entities into what we do, because again, crime prevention is not a VIPD problem, it's a community problem. We all have to play a part in doing the best that we can to really bring our community back into the auspices of it takes an entire community to raise a child, and it takes an entire community to help each other out. Because again, the police department is only so many people. The eyes of the police department is really the community. And a couple months ago, we had a homicide here in St. Thomas when I made it clear, I said it plainly, that there's only about 2% of the criminal element that's out there. The majority of the community are honest, law-abiding citizens, and we would love peace in our community. The problem is there's a fear element that's placed there that the community, the majority of the community just does not feel comfortable coming forward and talking to the police department. This is where entities like yourself, Family Resource Center, the DARE program, and these different entities, this is where they come in and help bridge that gap for us to help us get to that place where we can actually just feel comfortable to come to the police and say, hey, officer such and such, this is what happened. This is what went down in my community. This is what just happened. We have to get to that. And in order to get there, we have to bridge that gap as a department. And that's something that we're really pushing forward to. I like the idea that the commissioner is pushing forward. He wants to get back into the community. He wants the community input. He wants us to just really reach out there, just touch the flesh and talk and say, hey, we're here. I understand that there's some concern. Some people feel that, oh, well, if I talk to the police, it's going to get back and so forth. I would challenge anyone. Show me the record of that. Show me that. Because I have 28 years, actually 29 years this year in the police department, and I have yet to see a situation such as that happen, where someone came forward and say, hey, this is what happened, and there was some retribution instilled upon them. I've never seen that, and that's my 29 years on this job. So I would like us to really sit down, and I'm really appreciative of this program. I really wish I had more time because I'm so in tune to what each and every one of you would have to put out here today on this platform, because I'm pretty sure, I know for a fact that it's critical information. It's so welcoming to just be able to do and hear and get some of the feedback from some of you in the community. So we really look forward to that. I will jump back in, Ms. Lewis, when I get another break. To really get some more and really, engage some more with most of you, if not all of you, throughout the day. And I really appreciate this opportunity. So on behalf of myself, Assistant Commissioner on St. Croix, which is Sidney Elsko, Commissioner Nominee Martinez, and the rest of our leadership team, we thank you. I will see about getting back on again sometime throughout the day and really have an opportunity to sit down and talk some more and really, challenge this and see how we could best work this out for all of us.
So before you go, I just got a couple of things. One, the other day I had a motorcade and crime prevention unit was there, and they was excellent. If we can get them more out in the community, they were amazing. I was so impressed. They even told me, we don't even carry guns, Ms. Lewis, but the presence, the attitude, the behavior, we got to get more crime prevention officers, I think, because they can build a relationship. The other piece is we got to get DARE back. We got to get programs. We got to go in the housing. I wish we could get the housing police back. You've been here long enough. The housing police was amazing. They made a difference. I know that's going to take extra money, but it's so much out there that could be done along with, as Irvin said, the clergy, because we know the police can't do it by themselves. I know you got to jump in and out. You do have Miss Webb is here, so maybe she can take some notes and write some comments down that she can share back with the department, because we do want to have a strong partnership with the police department, because I don't think we can do this alone.
We cannot.
So you
Not an
being
entity
here
can do
means
it.
a lot to Delta Sigma Theta, and we appreciate you. So if you can jump in and out, it's fine. I'm going to ask Ms. Webb if she has anything to say, but maybe she can take notes for the department and just fill you in with pieces you might meet, because people are putting comments in the chat and things like that that they could share back with you. So we
Thank you so much. We so appreciate that. And I will reach out to Ms. Webb. But again, like I said, I'll try and jump back in sometime throughout the progress of the day.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye. On that note, Ms. Webb, would you like to come in and say anything sticking with VIPD? I just put you out there to take notes for the department, but would you like to say anything as Ms. Webb? Would you like to introduce yourself or say anything? Is Ms. Webb on? I see her here.
I'm here.
Okay.
I will take the notes as instructed, and I'll take that information back to the management. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything as well? Because you do work with victims and families. Anything you think would be helpful you want to add? Because that was one of the reasons why we invited you. Because I know you out there. I know you go to the crime scenes. We work together with some of it. Is it anything you want to say or add? Because you have the knowledge base.
No, but from throughout this meeting, if there's something I need to say, I'll raise my hand and ask to speak, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, VIPD. Thank you and the Deputy Commissioner. Okay, so let's move on to our next panelist. And that will be, perfect, Pastor Monrose. Pastor Gil T. Monrose is next.
Good morning, and sorry that I'm off the grid at this moment.
Right.
In terms of my camera. And good morning from Brooklyn, New York. And it again is a great pleasure to be back on. I was just asking the question if we had invited some clergy from the territory, but I'm not sure if anyone is on. Real quickly, many years ago, I met then Congresswoman Dr. Christensen in Washington, D.C., being in New York City, and we were talking about gun violence work. And ever since, I've been coming back to the VI to really work around clergy. I started off working on the Virgin Islands Clergy Peace Coalition. I did that for a couple of years. I turned it over to the local clergy to continue the work. And then over the past 2 years, I was one of the co-authors of the bill to create the Office to Prevent Gun Violence that Governor Bryan passed last year. And so my work has always been trying to put the Virgin Islands in the best place possible in terms of systems to create change. I am the national clergy convener for Clergy for Safe Cities in New York. And I also run the largest clergy council in New York City. And just saying this so that we can frame correctly the amount of work that goes in, again, to engage clergy in our communities to reduce the violence. So I continue to, and I'm continuing to be available to really work with clergy, faith leaders, community organizations around how do we create a collaborative effort to be co-producers of public safety. And I will continue to be a voice to be able to lend support to those on the ground to do the work that they need to do. So thanks again for having me, and I'm always here to support. Thank you.
Ms. Lewis, I think you're on mute.
Oh, there we go. Yes, I was trying to say thank you, Pastor Gil Monrose, for participating. We did invite some clergy. I actually spoke to a couple who said the clergy here hadn't actually been meeting since COVID-19. So we do want to try to get them engaged again in the process. So,
okay, no problem.
Thank you again.
Just wanted to say this. I think that it's important for me to probably connect you and see if there's a way that we can re-energize the group. Dr. Christensen could tell you that I took about 4 years of training clergy on both islands, well, all 3 islands, and did quite a few extensive training on best practices on the street engagement. I believe that they have the tools, but the thing that we need is the willpower in order to get clergy on the front line. This work takes on the street engagement and to lead, again, a national organization around the country when it comes to faith leaders. I want to say again, it takes engagement. So I'm hoping that if I can be of any assistance to have a specific meeting with clergy, let me know so that we can get that going. I'll love to do that.
We appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'd like to now call our next panelist, which would be Ms. Diane James. Ms. Diane James. I'll give her a minute. Maybe she's trying to unmute. I saw on the participant list. Ms. James?
Morning.
There we go. Good morning. Welcome. You got the floor. Speak up a little bit though. Thank you.
Good morning to all. Good morning to all. And thank you for this invite. My take on crime prevention of today are not the youths we dealt with in 15, 20 years back. The youth of today are much more engaged. Technology-wise, they're much more engaged. And the program that the police department talks about bringing back, it's not going to take brain science to bring those programs back. The clergy is saying that we need clergy to be engaged. And that's one of the problems here we have in the Virgin Islands. We talk about pain, but when it comes to put it into action, that's where we fall short. There's a lot of programs that already exist. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. My suggestion, if you really want to—
Ms. James, excuse me. You going in and out, and what I can hear, it sounds really good. Is there any way you could like reposition or something? Because you go low, then you go high, then you go out, and I don't want to miss nothing. I want to hear everything you got to say. Can you kind of reposition to help?
Oh, okay, give me a minute.
Okay, we'll give you a minute because we want to hear everything you have to say.
Okay, see if you could move on, and let me see if I can move from
You want me to take somebody else and bring you back?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. I'll just hold and I'll bring the next person up. How about Dwayne Howell? Is Dwayne Howell available? Dwayne Howell? Did I see him? Let's check. Mr. Howell? Okay.
Clemmer.
Huh?
I don't see him on the list.
Thank you, Annette. So I'll move on. How about Ifat Ataya M. Walker? Ms. Walker, are you available?
I am.
There you go.
Thank you. Yes, thank you
Good
all
morning.
so much. Good morning, everyone. It's always a wonderful to be on the call with you guys. Of course, I think we're all exhausted with the crime that is going on, not only in the territory, just worldwide. Some of the solutions, I appreciate the discussion that is taking place. Again, my name is Ifat Walker. I am the Executive Director of Community Action Now. We are in solidarity with each and every one of you on this call. Our programming takes place at the Romeo Malone Community Center that is in the middle of Savannah and St. Thomas. We are engaged in that community and the surrounding communities in doing whatever it takes to partner with those that have the same interest in making sure that crime is no longer a reality. And some of the ways that we feel that we must, and the things that we feel must be done to prevent crime, is to provide resources for the communities. A lot of crimes that we see are crimes of passion, crimes of survival, quite honestly. We're seeing a lot of crimes of survival. So when you see crimes of survival, that means people need jobs. People need skills so that they can obtain jobs. People need those things so that I always tell people when we talk about community, we talk about crime prevention. We have to take care of those neighbors that aren't doing so well. If we don't take care of those neighbors that aren't doing so well, they're going to be breaking into your home. That's just the reality of it. So I come to offer my solidarity and my continued support of this initiative. If there's anything that we can do, let us know, but we are here in solidarity with each and every one of you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you being a part of the roundtable. Sometimes my little thing get a little sticky. How about we move on to Dr. Eddie Gordon? You ready?
I am.
Good morning.
Hello.
Thank
Hello.
you.
How's everyone doing? First of all, thank you so much for inviting me again. I was here last year at this roundtable, so I just want to thank you guys so much. And anytime you guys invite me to do anything, I will be more than happy to make myself readily available and do whatever's needed. I'm Dr. Eddie Gordon, an associate professor here at UVI and the Criminal Justice Department. And Troy brought up something interesting that I want to go back to because it's very important. It's what we're trying to do at UVI, because we know that I always tell people when they turn on the news, there are two major things that people will notice. There's something in the medical field that's happening, cancer, whatever the case may be, COVID, or there's some type of crime going on. And so when Troy brought up, people who commit crimes, they need healing, it's our hope. It is our strong hope that people get the healing that they need. And so at UVI, what we've been trying to do, and we're building a relationship with the Board of Corrections, is because we know that citizens who are incarcerated, they will actually have to be released. And so because these returning citizens are going to be released, we don't want them to go back doing some of the same things that they did to get them incarcerated. So we're talking about gun violence right now. And so again, it's our hope is that we can end up going into BOC to teach some classes, to work with those individuals, to do whatever is possible to help build a relationship with them so that they do not go back out into the community and do some of the same things that actually got them into the system. So like I said, I'm very excited and enthused to be here today. If you guys need anything from me, UVI, please let me know. Type your information in the chat and I'll be more than happy to get you what you need and just do whatever's needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Dr. Gordon. We appreciate you. So can I remind the panelists, we need to know what you are doing in terms of gun violence and your action steps. So we're asking the other panelists to please tell us what you're doing in terms of gun violence and your action steps. So the next person I'll call is Laurie Dunton. Laurie Dunton, are you available? I saw you earlier. Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
Good morning. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Laurie Dunton. I'm the chair for Crime Stoppers USVI in the territory. I also work with Puerto Rico, BVIs, and Down Island to help establish Crime Stoppers within those specific communities as well. Our action plan to reduce gun violence includes a multi-step policy that we have implemented. The first being an increase in confidence within the community to report gun violence. And we do this through knock and talks. We reach out to at-risk neighborhoods as well as large populated areas. We are also working with, or we hope to work with, the Department of Education to implement Safe Schools Speak Out, which is a Crime Stopper anonymous school-wide tip line. Currently, we have one school on St. Croix that utilizes this school-based community platform, and it's very successful, and we would like to implement this as well in our public schools. We have dedicated 2 Crime of the Week features in the daily news that address specifically gun violence or gun violent acts, homicides, rapes, assaults, carjackings, robberies. And we will continue to dedicate gun violence to 2 of our articles. Our 4th action step is we have recently increased our rewards for any gun violent arrests. That includes the confiscating of guns, drugs, reporting of reports of homicide, assault, rape, robbery that leads to an arrest. And that reward is now up to $25,000. If it's multi-people, it can go as far as $50,000. We have also dedicated and committed to working with ATF in St. Thomas, as well as on the mainland in the United States. Even though we do not have an ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives division in St. Croix, we still work with them off of St. Croix to solve as many of these crimes as we possibly can. Crime Stoppers is also extended to the VIPD's public information officer, a request to be included along with Ms. Webb, victims advocate, media outlets, and other agencies during press conferences. We feel that if we can get the message out to the community that Crime Stoppers is here, we are available, and it is an avenue for an anonymous tip. So you don't necessarily have to report it to the police or to an officer. Your identity is safe, and we would like to be able to promote that more in and during these press conferences. And finally, we have a P3 Tips app. It's a mobile app. We're hoping to advertise it more frequently and get it out there so that the community can download this mobile app and be able to submit tips from any mobile device, their phone, computers, anywhere. They can be on St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John, Water Island, and they can submit tips no matter where they are. So that's some of our action plan that I'd like to share with you, and I'm glad to share with you. And I hope to be able to continue the work that we've started. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on. Diane James, are you ready now to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes, much better. Go for it. You got it.
Thanks again. Diana James from the D&J Shooting Gallery. I'm just a normal citizen that is just frustrated with the gun violence in our territory. As much as we talk about it, there's less done. My take on gun violence in our education. And education is a very preschool, kindergarten, all the way up. Have a program that is accessible to any educational field to start the curiosity out of them, so they're not easily persuaded by someone on the street to get involved into gun violence, something that they would have learned and something that they would have known about. The programs that we had here in our territory back when I was a police officer, they were excellent when it comes to gun violence in our community, because each community had an area, a structure to go into to prevent the concern. All those programs are gone. There's nothing left for them to do now. And with technology, as great as they are right now, that's what they get into. They get into technology and they see more, and so they want to explore. If you could take that curiosity out of them from a very young age, they won't be persuaded easily on trying something that they already have. And like I said, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Exist, and they were already there. Education have money going back every year Every year education have money going back. Why don't we use that money and start to bring these programs back on board? Bring them in from preschool all the way up. Because the things that you would think a 12-year-old would not have done years ago, they're doing now. They're testing drugs, they're having sex at 12 years old. So that needs to tell us we need to go back to a younger age to start to educate them. Yes, we have a lot of things in place, but they're not being carried out. There's a lot of programs in place, but they're not being carried out. The clergy said it. There's no emphasis is carrying out. Talk about it, and we need to stop just talk and start things in action. We all want to have this territory. We live here. We want to have the territory. But we need to just stop talking. And that already worked. They already worked. There. Weed and seed. They help the police department. They help domestic violence. They help the community. Housing police. All these units work, and there was a great access to us. And we just let them die and fall on the wayside. And then we talk about bringing it back for years. At the time, Novell said, "Oh, we will always keep the unit." And look where it is now.
Thank you so much for your contribution.
Okay. Thank you so much for Diane for that. So let's move to our next panelist, which is Dwayne Howell. Are you there now? Are you available to speak, Mr. Howell?
Yeah, I'm here. Morning,
okay.
everybody. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You want me to reiterate that you hear we're focusing on just a brief introduction, what your organization is doing to deal with gun violence, what's your projected outcomes, and do you have any dates of completion?
All right, good. Good morning, everyone. Our Arch Institute, our focus is adolescent and young adult direct prevention strategies. We've been focusing on reduction of risky behaviors through multiple direct prevention methodologies, including social media prevention and social media platform. So that's what we're working on. We are the host of the Territories Drug-Free Coalition, which is called CAYA, Coalition of Adolescents and Coalition of the Drug-Free Coalition of Adolescents and Young Adults. Our focus there, we're focused on underage drinking, alcohol use, and marijuana use, and the associated risk factors and risk behaviors, and reducing risk behaviors. And so that's how ARCH is tackling violence from science-based, evidence-based prevention strategies. Thank you. And we're ongoing, our efforts are ongoing. And so our current project is the Drug-Free Coalition, and we just this month started a national COVID project called Poder en Salud, where we're focusing only on the Hispanic youths in the territory.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Mr. Howell. Thank you. So we'll move on. We have a lot of other people, so I'm trying to go through it. I'll call since I'm getting this note, I'll call Miss Janae Joseph, a UVI student, to speak. If she's still there, Janae Joseph.
Good morning.
Good morning.
When I joined the call the first time, I was just a UVI student, and now I currently work with the Virgin Islands Police Department, crime prevention department. So I heard Miss Lewis mention something about the crime prevention department. If you have any questions, I will be able to answer them for you.
Okay. I don't have any specific questions. Is there anything you would like to say as a young person when it concerns what we can do about gun violence? You have any action steps that you think crime prevention could do? You have any ideas? Anything that y'all working on specifically you'd like to bring up? I mentioned how the crime prevention unit was at my motorcade Saturday, and I was so impressed with them and their attitude and their relationship and how they jumped on board. Did you want to add anything, or you just want to be available if we have any questions? It's up to you.
Okay, in reference to crime prevention, actually on November 13th, if I'm not mistaken, we're supposed to be having a community night out on St. Thomas at the Griffith Ballpark. Also, in reference to gun violence, last week Thursday, I did a presentation on gun violence and how much people lost their lives from the years 2018 to 2021. And if I'm not mistaken, it was like 160 something people. When it comes to gun violence, I am very involved because I know what it feels like to lose people to gun violence. So I feel like it's something that needs to be addressed, especially because the majority of people that die are usually like in their teens to their late 20s. So I feel as though it's something that needs to be spoken about because, like I said the last time, I feel like a lot of this stems from lack of opportunities and lack of jobs. So if there were more people willing to hire people in that age range, I feel like they will have a better opportunity to, stay out of the streets and occupy themselves with something more useful. And that's all I have for right now.
Well, we appreciate you and thank you so much for coming forward and speaking up. We're noticing with some of the panelists, we're getting a lot of background noise. So can you either be in a space where you can mute out people, or if there's other people that have their microphone on, try to mute it because it's kind of distracting when people are speaking. I want to move to Miss, I don't see her on here, so let me go to the next person. Let me go to Ms. Caitlin Foy from the Virgin Islands Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Council. Ms. Foy,
Hi.
Would you like to speak? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. Caitlin Foy, Virgin Islands Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Council, or called DVSAC. We come from this lens that both domestic violence and gun violence are completely preventable. Unfortunately, homes with guns have a threefold increased homicide risk in compared to homes without guns. So it's important for us to talk about the intersection of this work. We do this through education, partnership, and prevention. And that's our basic angles that we go with in working against gun violence and gender-based violence. So our current programs and services allow us to discuss the intersection and have conversations and amplify the voices of the victims, as well as our partner programs, the Women's Coalition of St. Croix and Family Resource Center on St. Thomas and St. John and Water Island. DVSAC goes into the schools from Head Start to elementary, high school, college, that's UVI, and we teach healthy life strategies, healthy relationships. We talk about teen dating violence, intimate partner violence, domestic violence, how to resolve conflict, as well as referrals. It's imperative that we have conversations in regards to domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, stalking, ending the violence, and the intersection of gun violence, and how that interplays. Unfortunately, abusers are most often deadliest when victims choose to leave. So it's important for us to have conversations about power and control and how that goes, versus conversations about, somebody just did it because of a crime of passion, or they were in love and they just didn't know what they were doing. And it's really an intentional effort. And so we work with the government agencies, churches, business, community groups, nonprofits, the VIPD. We do train the trainers. So we go out and we do programs to train other people in how to have conversations in regards to gender-based violence. And in that, we also will build in the conversation on how gun violence will affect them. We refer people specifically to programs, Women's Coalition and Family Resource Center for help. We have a faith-based committee, so we're working with the churches. So we work closely already with Pastor Monroe's, and so we've already integrated that, and we're looking forward to supporting the chapter that he's putting here in the Virgin Islands. Okay, let's see. I have been, we also, as I said, we work with the Virgin Islands Department. What we can use to move forward is those that are on this call to reach out to DVSAC to provide training so we can have conversations about the intersections of these crimes so that we can support the people that you work with and provide training and resources and prevention and education. So thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you for all DVSAC does. So I want to move on to Department of Health, Mr. Quane Bartlett. The reason I haven't called you yet is not that I haven't seen you. We were going to try to combine you and Dr. Velmont and the commissioner. So would you just like to go, or would you like to wait for them to come, or are they not coming? And you're going to represent Department of Health alone today. That's what we're not sure of.
Good morning, Ms. Lewis.
Good morning.
Always good to see you. I know it's been a minute, but still as beautiful as ever. I am actually here in my director's stead today, representing behavioral health. I'm not too sure with regards to Dr. Valmont on the commissioner. However, what we all have been working on is exactly the same project. So if I speak, I'm probably touching on a little bit of what the other two will touch on. So
okay, so you go for it then.
Oh, all right.
You go for
good
it.
Morning. All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm here listening and just taking it all in. My name is Quane Bartlett. I am an outreach worker for the Division of Behavioral Health, Alcoholism, and Drug Dependency Services with the Department of Health. So my job, as it relates to gun violence prevention and what our division has been doing, I do a lot of psychoeducation in the schools. I love working with the kids. My philosophy is prevention is always better than cure. One of the things that I like to do in specific relation to gun violence prevention is the de-escalation and the psychoeducation in terms of stress identifiers, understanding what stressors are, understanding coping mechanism, teaching the kids coping mechanisms, reorientation techniques, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, short circuit your senses, bring you back to where you were. And that is something that we're teaching them at the middle school level, at the high school level, and just imagine what that translates to into a functional adult in Virgin Islands society, an adult who is able to count to 5, trace their own hand, run their fingers and just do their quick little short circuit techniques and bring themselves right back down. That's a person who doesn't have to pull a gun. That's a person who doesn't have to even think about violence. And that is part of a philosophy that we understand in behavioral health, the violence pathway, where it goes from one incident to failed intervention to the actual recognition of conflict. We actually recognize that we are in conflict with someone or something, like someone mentioned. That thing may be economics, or it may be an actual person. It may be a system. It may be systematic. So just looking at how, violence can be reduced from the behavioral health standpoint we were involved in the creation of, I believe, the job description and, some of the Office of Gun Violence. And then, we hand that off and, we let the other agencies go at it. And, we put our touch on it and we hand it off, which is a lot of what we do in behavioral health. But specifically to our action plan, outreach, heavy on the outreach. However, it's just myself. Those of you on the call who know me, who I've interacted with, Miss Lewis, when I lived in St. Croix for that short time, that phone call at 10 o'clock, hey, we got a client, I'm there. But it's just myself. I am 27 years old. I may seem a little bit older, but I am a baby. I am young, but I'm glad that I am in this while I am young, so that I have the energy and the drive and the passion to keep pushing it forward. And one of the things that we do is, we take recommendations from staff. And one of the things that the staff at Behavioral Health wanted is certifications. We want to have the knowledge to deal with the client base that we are seeing. And we got certified in nonviolent crisis intervention. So the staff at Behavioral Health now, we got, I think, about 7 or so, or maybe, I think about 7 instructor level certifications. And then the rest of the staff are certified on the basic certification level. But Behavioral Health is now certified in understanding how to take persons from a 10 systematically using evidence-based processes.
Excellent.
Break it down, bring you
That's
back down.
Excellent. That's excellent. I wish you had a clone in St. Croix. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little
everybody
jealous.
wants to clone me, but I'm not ready for kids, so I'm
We
not
would-
sure.
But do you have a counterpart in St. Croix? I mean,
believe-
give us something.
Well, I fly over. I'm there. If you ask for me, here's what I tell people: if you ask for me, I will come. I will come. It just takes a little bit of planning in terms of tell me what you're working with, so I know what kind of game plan I have to come with, because how we approach things in behavioral health, we're kind of like firemen, you call us when something is on fire, and then we try to figure out, okay, what team we need to send out, what size hose, and what kind of water. So you just let us know what's happening and we try to figure it out. But sometimes if that takes us referring it to a different agency after, again, we give our input, by all means, we got to stop working, my opinion, we got to stop working in silos. We have to stop, this is my problem and we're going to solve it. No, this is our problem.
It's our problem.
We all have to put our piece on it. And because guess what? The more people involved in creating a solution, the less strain it is, because again, very limited resources. The less strain that one department, organization, coalition has to bear. So you guys,
we appreciate you. We thank you so much. And you will be hearing from us, even if you have to hear from us at meetings on Zoom. But you will hear from us. And thank you for giving us the action steps. I'm just excited about all that. So thank you so much for that. Keep doing what you're doing. We need a lot of brothers out there doing it. Thank you.
I'm here.
All right. Is Bernadette Gonzalez on? I don't see her on here, but I don't know if she's using a phone by any chance. Bernadette, are you on? Okay, so I'm gonna move to Keza Callwood from BOC. Callwood.
Good morning, Kaiser A. Callwood from the Virgin Islands Bureau of Correction. I would start by saying that nothing good ever comes from violence. And at the Bureau of Correction, we are transforming lives like never before. We just recently launched our Transforming Lives Academy, which is the first ever program of this magnitude that offers inmates the opportunity to complete high school coursework and requirements, also have the opportunity to receive the high school diploma from Penn Foster High School, in addition to receiving vocational certifications that when they do come out from prison, and the research has shown over 700,000 men and women are released from prison every year. And when they come out, they have to have that support system, that residential center that's needed. So that's one of the things that I think the Delta Sigma Theta sorority can push for, is a residential center. So when these individuals come out into our community, sometimes their family don't want to deal with them at all. And then, of course, they go through depressions. They start to smoke, they start robberies, and then back to the Bureau of Corrections. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to, when we provide them with the educational training programs and that advantage to move forward in their lifespan and be remarkable citizens in our community, we want a template of excellence that they can fall back on, a residential center, the opportunity to work through the Department of Labor to offer them some type of employment so they can continue to follow that good pattern of good stewards here in the community. I know I can stay here talking about the Bureau of Corrections right here in the Virgin Islands, but know that we are intentional in love, intentional in support, and intentional to return our inmates. And I say our inmates because we're taking care of them from the police station when they're arrested, in our care, to the court sanctioning them to stay with us for a certain amount of time. When they come out, we want them to be remarkable citizens, and we are doing that at the Bureau of Corrections. So I want to thank you all for this opportunity, and also thank the staff at the Bureau of Correction for what they continue to do for the people of the Virgin Islands under the Brian Roach administration. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So I think I got everybody. I'm gonna close it out with me. I'm here as as Delta Sigma Theta moderator, but I'm also the executive director of the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, which is an agency that does a lot of work around violence in the community. Our mission is to provide support and counseling for all crime victims. And gun violence, we consider it a public health issue because it impacts the entire community. We established the National Day of Remembrance in the Virgin Islands for families of murder victims, so they would have understanding and they'll be able to have a place to come and remember their loved ones. We have a Facebook page that we're proud of that's dedicated to families, again, to have a chance to post, to help them grieve through the loss of their loved ones. We provide support, counseling, and with families that have been impacted by gun violence, whether it's going to the funeral with them, getting clothes for them, relocating them off island, holding their hand, whatever the family needs to get through the violence and the grief. The Women's Coalition provide that. Some of our action steps, again, is to continue with the National Day of Remembrance. That's critical. We've been doing that for 30 years, September the 25th. The Facebook page, everybody likes that. I plan to start a grief group soon. We've been doing individual and family counseling around grief, but I want to do a Pacific grief group for the island of St. Croix. We might have to do a couple to help families where they are in different places. I think we need to also continue. We're going to continue everything we're doing, but I think starting a grief group and the outcome we expect is to continue to work with victims, to continue to have activities, continue to support them. We support them through the criminal justice system and everything else. So I'll add a little more when we get to what we need to help us continue to work as we move forward. I believe I got all the panelists. By any chance, if I miss anybody, raise your hand. I think I was pretty good on checking and people letting me know. If not, I think we got everybody. I want to thank all the panelists from this morning. I want to ask you, it would help if we kind of try to stick to our goals and objectives. We can get things down. And on that note, I would like to introduce Ms. Kendra Jeffers, who will be doing part 2. Kendra, you're on. Thank you all so much for this morning.
I think she's introducing me. She changed my last name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kendra. I don't know where my head was. My mistake. I'm sorry.
Maybe you're projecting something coming into my life that I don't know about.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. You can reintroduce. Sorry.
No worries. I am Dr. Kendra Harris, and I am a humbled member of this St. Croix Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. My day job is that I'm the Dean of the School of Business at the University of the Virgin Islands. And although college isn't for everyone, it certainly isn't going to be for that young man or young woman who's in the ground. So this is very instrumental for all of us. I hail originally from Washington, D.C., which most of you know once upon a time was the murder capital of the world, not of the world, of the country. And it's not necessarily doing all that well. You heard Irwin Royster from one of the wards there that sees some of the heaviest gun violence talk about some actions there. And he was invited here in the spirit of what has been shared here, in that, you know, silos aren't only exclusively related to the territory. You know, this problem is universal. There are remedies that have taken place across the country. And so anything that can be done to bring individuals together to understand some of the resources that are there, it can be useful to all. This is a panel of individuals who are well-versed in what we're talking about, but just to bring it back home and bring it to a focal point, the leading cause of death for non-Hispanic Blacks aged 15 to 24 is homicide. The leading cause of death. And therein lies a key reason why this is a public health issue. And when you look around at 24 countries across the world, most of them being the developed countries, the major countries, France, Italy, Australia, England, 91% of the deaths of youth up to age 14 come from the United States. 91%. When you look at all of that death across the world, 91% comes from the United States. So what we're doing is saving not only the lives of individuals, but helping to preserve our future. Without any further ado, I'm going to go back to Mr. Irwin Royster, and I don't know, he was going to demonstrate to us what's been going on, because we're at the point where we're talking about actions that have been executed, and I'm sure he's willing to be a resource for anyone here, particularly the police force and the clergy, with respect to what they're doing there. I put in the chat to have his little brief video shown. Are we ready for that?
Okay, let me check.
Okay. While they're teeing that up, Irwin Royster, can you talk to us a little bit about an actionable activity that you have implemented in your group with the clergy that relates back to gun violence being a health issue?
Thank you, Dr. Harris. Good morning. It's still morning. Good morning again to everyone. One thing that we said we were going to do, this is a public health approach, is address some of the social determinants. When we look back and we talk to the victims and we talk to the perpetrators, when you dig deeply, you find out that most of them were suffering from some type of adverse childhood experience. And so what the district did was developed the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. And what this office does is, again, work with the victims of violent crimes and work with the perpetrators of violent crimes, and tries to provide resources to them so they can live better lives. What do I mean by that? I mean that we have a program called Pathways. And Pathways, again, provides any type of resource that these persons need, such as GED, obtaining their GEDs, obtaining employment, obtaining housing, obtaining access to health. Again, hitting those social determinants. What we have done with the Ward 7 faith leaders, we've developed working groups around the same thing. So we have a working group for employment. We have a working group for health and health access. We have a working group to assist folks in develop housing. We have a working group that deals with family services. Again, we want to go in and find out what is going on with these individuals. Now, how do we find these individuals? We're out on the street talking with these individuals. We're doing street intercept interviews. We're doing activities in hot zones. We call them pop-ups. Examples of this, again, there was a pop-up where there were active drug users, and these were heroin users. So it was the church to set up a tent, and we were going to just find out what was going on with these individuals. Well, what we did was, of course, we had food, and we had other resources there for these individuals. But the biggest thing that we saw during this COVID epidemic, we were able to talk to active drug users and get them inoculated for COVID. They were actually, we talked with them about the vaccine, they got the vaccine. Then we found out what else was going on in their lives. Some of the ministers were connected with drug treatment centers. So we got them involved in drug treatment centers, those that were ready to go. Those that needed housing, and these were homeless individuals out there. So those that needed housing, we were able to connect them with housing. We were able to connect them to different areas to improve their quality of life. Now, did everybody jump on board? No, they did not. And it took some time. But this is an activity that we are constantly working on and that we're constantly doing. We're constantly there with those individuals, and we can see that we're making a difference on this corridor. The second thing, and I'll use this as the last piece. Thanksgiving came, and we did a food Thanksgiving turkey giveaway to the community right there in another hot zone. We also said, and we did that a couple days before Thanksgiving, but then the feedback we got, I don't have a home. So how am I going to prepare this turkey? So a group of ministers and a group of police officers came back, set up tables, and provided a Thanksgiving meal on the street for these individuals. So these are some of the activities that we're doing. We're creating relationships with folks that are out there in the community that others have forgotten, and we're giving them dignity, and we're developing relationships with them so we can funnel them into the different programs that they need. Thanks.
Thank you for that. And thank you, Ms. Scott. I'm going to move on a little bit. We have a little bit of time. We'll come back. And during this segment, it is key for everyone to talk about what it is you can do to collaborate with someone else. We wanted you to think about that in the first segment. And we want you to talk about the actions, the resources, the implementation you have engaged in to end gun violence. And I'm sure even though Urban Royster is not here in the territory, if you think something he has said is something that could be useful, even if it's only as a resource, even if it's only to talk through some of the ideas that you have. Again, the purpose is, this is not a siloed activity. This is something of the village is the territory and beyond. So I'm going to go to Mr. Troy DeShabert Schuster, who, if I remember correctly, is our son. His mom is a soror.
Indeed.
So please.
Yeah, so I'm really delighted to hear all of this. And, you know, one thing that we've been doing at AARP, being an advocacy organization, is speaking with some of the senators about developing legislation to foster the reintegration of convicts into the community. And I was so happy to hear what Dr. Eddie Gordon said. And, you know, I already reached out to him through this Zoom meeting, and we will connect with him and see how we can support his work with our legislation, and also Dr. Callwood at the Bureau of Corrections, and make something really great happen. But I'm sorry if I missed the question. Is there another part of the question I'm supposed to be answering other than collaboration?
Yes, we wanted you to speak to some of the resources, some of the actions and the implementation that you are currently involved in.
Okay, well, that would be it. Like I said, at AARP, we normally don't get involved in this arena of work directly, except through our advocacy. And so we're always doing research and always listening to community members and our AARP members to ascertain what are the needs of the community and see how we can meet that through legislation, through our advocacy and our community outreach. So this would be the avenue that we would take, to help to bring some kind of resolution. Again, when I was listening to the Reverend Erwin Royster, he touched upon what I said before also about healing. How do we bring healing? And even in our outreach to the older members of the community, how can they work within their family context to bring healing to a situation, to avoid gun violence, and also to in the initial phase, like, so it doesn't happen, and how do we prevent it from happening again? So we'd be working henceforth on developing that kind of outreach to the older community to see how they can bring healing to their families. We see that especially in communities of color, grandparents play such a significant role in the family life. So we have to really go to the heart of it. Trying to get guns off the street, that's just a little plaster on the sore, but we need to get to the heart of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Pastor Monrose, anything you have for us with respect to collaboration with anyone here? And tell us a little bit about some of your actions, your resources, and your methods for ending gun violence.
Yes, thank you so much for that. We have trained just about 500 clergy from around the US, the Virgin Islands, and the Caribbean. And one of the beauty about that is that we share best practices of clergy leaders from around the country who have been doing this work, on the street engagement, really working with at-risk young people, whether it's the ceasefire model or cure violence model. We have also created what we call clergy-based gun violence prevention methods, which is led by clergy, created by clergy, so that it can then be run by clergy. We believe that the faith community has a very important role to play as part of this whole collective of gun violence. There is no one method of reducing the violence. And so we must come in as a collective group together so that we can tackle the different areas in which we have our strong points. So if there is training that is needed to be done for faith leaders, but also if you as a community leader who kind of want to understand what real interaction with the faith community looks like on the ground, I'm always recommending that you attend our session. So this is our 5th meeting that we're going to be having next week, Tuesday. What we're doing right now, and is also additional benefit for the Virgin Islands, is creating what we call Clergy for Safe Cities chapter. And this is going to be the first and the largest clergy-based organizations or faith-based organizations who are creating chapters in their local cities to, number one, give us a national voice, and number two, be able to give those organizations resources to be able to do the job in which they need to get done. So these are some of the real tangible things that we can offer to those in the Caribbean, those in the Virgin Islands, and of course, those in the US.
Thank you so much for that. And I hope that some of the members of the panel will take you up on that. FYI, Erwin Royster is not clergy, but you see how heavily involved he is with this. So
definitely,
perhaps that could be an inspiration for other individuals on here. So thank you for that. I understand that Ms. Dunton might be a little bit on a timeline. So if you will speak to the same issues, Ms. Laurie Dunton.
Yes, good afternoon, morning still, good morning. As far as Crime Stoppers, we are excited to be able to work with all agencies and organizations throughout the Virgin Islands. But specifically, we would like to increase our collaboration with the Virgin Islands Police Department. We could do that with a more inclusive role during press conferences and an opportunity for training, not only within BIPD, but also Bureau of Corrections, clergy, UVI, all departments of education. If we can get members of all of these entities familiarized with Crime Stoppers and how it works and the results that we have, and if we can get buy-in by the organizations and agencies, then they can help promote Crime Stoppers in the community. And by doing that, we're going to increase the number of members, community residents that are going to trust and feel confident in the system. And then we'll have the information that we need to maybe make a difference when it comes to gun violence. So I would love to be able to host training opportunities for all of these agencies and departments, all the guests that you have at the roundtable, and anyone that is willing to reach out to us. We're more than willing to share our knowledge with you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I heard very strongly your plea for partnering with the VI Police Department. I trust Ms. Leslie Webb Keith is still on and is still taking notes, so perhaps she will take that back to the police organization. I'm going to move on now to Ms. Diana James. Same questions, collaboration. What are some of the resources and actions and methods you're engaging in to end gun violence?
I will say too that education within our community, education on our school system. If we could work with the Department of Education to get some of the programs within our school, within our community, I strongly believe that those programs will assist us, because gun violence is just not one issue. There's several issues that allow someone to get into gun violence and violence in a whole. I will continue to emphasize education. I have started a program at my facility where I train young children to deal with conflict resolution, bullying, self-awareness, and safety of firearms. So I would stay on my method. Education is the key in our community, and start at a very young age and take it into every entity that we have right here now in our territory.
Thank you so much. You remind us so very well that each one of us has a part to play, and if we all did just a little bit, we would contribute to that bigger picture. So thank you for that. I'm next going to call on Mr. Dwayne Howell.
Good morning again. Thanks for honoring my request, because I'm on travel actually. For Arch, we collaborate with everyone that we cannot collaborate with. We have a very strong collaboration with the Department of Education, more specifically with St. Croix District through Superintendent Carlos McGregor. We've had a long-standing collaboration with St. Croix Central High School. What we do is we do a lot of peer education training. So we are focused specifically for gun violence. We're more focused on those social determinants of health to address those social determinants of health issues, reducing risky behaviors, increasing youth perception of risk,
Those are the areas that we are more focused on. In terms of resources, as I said, we have the Drug Free Coalition, which is a CDC funded program. It's not much. It's because it requires $1 match on our part. But we do within the coalition, we bring 12 sectors together. That is youth. This very host is a member of the Drug Free Coalition, education, law enforcement, the clergy, and other sectors. We just finished up a SAMHSA grant, and the other resources that we can bring to the table is our grant writing ability. We are successful in mostly national grants. That's our only source of funding, unfortunately, is national federal grants. National competitive federal grants is really our only source of income. We don't have local funding, so we do have the expertise to assist in helping with some grant writing for competitive federal grants that's outside our area of expertise. With that, I wish everyone a good meeting, and I apologize. I am traveling back from South Africa, and I must now go back to the airport.
We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you carving out the time and accommodating this webinar. Your comments have been highly useful, and we continue to encourage you and everyone else to find these collaborative opportunities. Thank you. Travel safely. Take care. All right. I'm going to next move on to Ms. Ifat Walker.
Thank you so much for that. This has been a wonderful discussion and just dialogue on this topic that is so important to every one of us. As far as community action now is concerned, the route that we've taken is to educate the community. We currently provide free trainings through the Department of Labor for anyone within any of your populations that need to get to work and need some skills. We provide, I'll tell you, we have a
excuse me for 1 second, Ms. Walker. Ms. James, can you mute, please? Miss Diana James, can you mute, please? Thank you. Can you mute, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Walker. Can you move? You can go on.
Absolutely, yes. We currently provide five free training opportunities through the Department of Labor. Anyone that is a displaced worker, any of our, at-risk individuals that need to get training, cannot afford the training, they can go to the Department of Labor and they can choose from our Life Skills Work Ready training. They can choose an entrepreneurship certification. They can choose a bookkeeping certification, a communication certification, and these are all national certifications, so they will not be getting a certificate of completion. Our training classes, although we're based out of the Romeo Malone Community Center in Savannah on St. Thomas, our training is open to all 3 islands because they are virtual. Although they are virtual, they are instructor-led. So they will have an online instructor that will walk them through the process. So that is what we are currently offering to offset some of the challenges that we have in the community. So again, anyone can reach out to either our agency directly or reach out to the Department of Labor for that. We believe that education is a key to self-sufficiency, and that through that, we're able to support so many populations and getting away from things like violence. Choose something else, like, giving them tools to do for self, then they will do for self. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you all.
Thank you so much for your enthusiasm and that commentary. And again, as with everyone, we invite you to nurture those collaborations. Next up is Dr. Eddie Gordon. I see his screen, but I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Okay.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Ms. Kendra, was there a specific question you wanted me to answer or talk about the collaboration?
Yes, yeah, and your collaborations would be fine. Any actionable activities that are going on with you at the moment?
Sure. And so I put up in the chat earlier where I talked about the Board of Corrections where, gun violence is real big on the territory. And so what we're trying to do, we're building a relationship. We have a collaborative effort with the Department of Corrections to work with returning citizens so they don't end up gaining access to guns, which led them into getting incarcerated. So what we're trying to do is go directly into the prison and work with them and also help them with some coping skills and blend in some of our classes to work with them. So not only can they potentially get credit, but have a better understanding once they come out to not do some of the same things that actually led them to actually get into prison. So again, we're collaborating with the Board of Corrections, VIPD, and we're also trying to work something out right now with the courts. And so hopefully by next year, when you guys invite me again, we'll have a better idea of where we are because somebody put up in the chat about the CUPS program. And so that's why I had my camera sliding because I was researching potential grants or something we can actually work on or apply for some grants to help some of our students work in the community and potentially apply for some of those grants for individuals who are incarcerated. So once they get released, they don't end up going back to get guns and access to the same things.
Thank you so much. This is a one step at a time activity. So forward motion is what's important. Each one doing it their part and moving forward. So thank you for that. I'm going to call now on Miss Janae Joseph.
Good morning. In respect to seeing what we can do with gun violence, with working with the VIPD, I am able to, with the VIPD, they're putting together a community night out, like I said, to reach out to the kids of communities, of housing communities, to be able to provide activities that they are able to participate in so that they aren't idle. We're trying to do at least once a month. We go into different communities and plan night outs to interact with the kids so that the kids have something to do. Also, the crime prevention unit is looking into starting an Explorer program on St. Thomas because there is one on St. Croix. So we're looking to start one on St. Thomas. And I saw in the chat that Mr. Caldwell was stating that he was interested in bringing back the DARE program. If he's able to email me, I am willing to speak to my supervisor, Captain Sandra Colburn, in reference to bringing back the DARE program, and I can set up a communication between the two of them so that they're able to discuss that.
Thank you so much for speaking through those collaborative efforts. That's exactly what we need to hear happening. So thank you so much for that. Next, I have Miss Colleen, and please forgive me if I butcher your last name, Fahi. Your last name, what is it?
It's Kaylin Foy.
Kaylin Foy.
Good morning. Foy. Thank you. So speaking of specific strategies, we currently work with faith-based community, our local domestic violence programs and shelters, government agencies, businesses, community groups, nonprofit, the VIPD, schools, as well as churches. And so we provide training and outreach and strategies, prevention work, et cetera. So in regards to the Virgin Islands domestic violence and sexual assault council, the resources that we would need is for those on this panel and the community that are here to reach out and request a training from us or a program. So we really work specifically in regards to domestic violence, sexual assault, and light crimes. But we also are working with, in regards to talking about the intersection of domestic violence and sexual assault and gun violence and the effects on that. So we feel that really talking about prevention of domestic violence, sexual assault, talking to the youth about teen dating violence, talking to even younger children about just healthy friendships and conflict resolution and things of that nature can help to prevent those crimes, which will in turn reduce the gun violence that happens within intimate partner relationships. And so we would really, you know, want and invite the other people to join us, to ask us to come out for training. Our training is free of charge. We're doing it virtually as well as in person. And then we also have a faith-based committee that meets once a month virtually for an hour. And so we work with faith-based leaders across the territory and talk about solutions and how, and it's actually in every meeting is a training around a different topic. And so we'll have one meeting specifically dedicated to gun violence and the intersection of domestic violence and sexual assault, and techniques and conversation and resources that they can provide to their faith community in regards to these issues. So that is, I would say where our need is just the ability to do more outreach and for people to reach out for us. And people might not realize that our training is actually free of charge. And so we'll just continue to amplify the voices. Another thing that I think that we could do better at moving forward is to talk about these intersections in our social media and to create specific posts to help raise awareness and, you know, intersect with people that way. So thank you.
Thank you so very much. You have some extensive activities and collaborations going on there. So I hope individuals take you up on your invitation to join you. We ran a little late starting this segment, so we're kind of running a little low on time. There are 3 individuals, according to my notes at least, who are up. Mr. Kwani Bartlett, Mr. Kaiser Callwood, and Ms. Clemma Lewis. Would you all like to tell us about your collaborations as we close out this segment? So we'll start with Kwani. Am I butchering your name as well?
Yes, ma'am, but it's okay.
But how is it pronounced? I'm an educator. I got to get it right.
Quayne Bartlett.
Quayne Bartlett. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So collaborative efforts between the Division of Behavioral Health. We have had a rollout that started actually in 2019 called AU Good. So if you've ever seen anyone from the Department of Health, Behavioral Health, in those green T-shirts with, you know, locals saying on it, AU Good. And we roll out with VIPD, and we did what we call the Encounter Project, where we hit the high-risk areas for, you know, substance abuse, violence, and homelessness. And that's where we see a lot of our mental health patients. So we had that going. We conducted it on St. Thomas, St. Croix, St. John. We did it beautifully with VIPD. We actually had very, very big kudos to Chief Cannonier. You know, he brought his guys out plain clothes. We did the same in St. Croix. And collaborative efforts continue because we also have the crisis intervention team, which, you know, myself, VIPD, other members of the Behavioral Health Division, where we respond to those issues in the community for, you know, 722s for involuntary commitments, assisting with the emergency commitments, 722, and then the involuntary commitments, 723s, working with the families and referring them to outside agencies if we can't provide the counseling services that they need. So we have, if I'm not mistaken, you know, some contracts through grant funding with private providers who can do that, trauma counseling, who can do that, individual one-on-one counseling, who can do that grief group, who can, do anything that the division isn't able to do presently. And we would like to see more collaboration. Again, if, the persons who work with me and who, know me know I'm a phone call away. Just call me up, send me a text message. Again, tell me what you need and I'll figure out how to get it done.
Thank you so much for that. Excellent collaborations. Mr. Kaiser Callwood.
Thank you for the opportunity. The Bureau of Correction continues to actually collaborate with the University of the Virgin Islands through the UVI CEL program. And we have been collaborating with the Virgin Islands Police Department in several different ways. Our goal is to ensure that we have the partnerships and practices in place that work for the advantage of our inmates when they return to the community. One of the new partnerships that we're getting ready to come on board will be with the Department of Labor through their Workforce Development Program to ensure that when these individuals return from our care back to the community, they do have the opportunity to get employment, sign up. So that will take government agencies and their regular businesses in the community to give our inmates a second chance. We have to roll around because you got in trouble. That means you don't get an opportunity to be remarkable citizens in the community. So it's all about changing the narrative and getting person's mind to think differently when we're dealing with those individuals that have paid their time, have been rehabilitated and back into their community where they need all of us together to help them succeed and become remarkable citizens. So at the Bureau of Corrections right in the Virgin Islands, that's what we're doing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Callwood. I think the final person we have is Miss Clemma Lewis. So as she speaks, we had a survey we wanted everyone to do. I've just posted the link to that in the chat. So as she is bringing her collaboration information forward, if you all would also, if you can multitask, take a brief second to take a look at the survey. We would like you to complete that before this is over. Ms. Lewis.
Okay, so some actionable steps the Women's Coalition is taking is we're running parenting classes. And you're probably saying, what do parents have to do with gun violence? Well, most of the parents know who bringing the guns in their house. And if we can set role models and educate our parents, we can get them to speak up and stop the guns from coming in our house and stop some of the conflict and violence that continues. So parent to me is critical, and the role model. We try and establish closer relationships with the community so they can go to Crime Stoppers and make report, because they just don't trust a lot of entities. We want to build a relationship. We're starting the grief groups. We're going to try to have a couple of them a year. We need volunteers to go out in the community. Everybody want to do the work, but people don't want to go in the community. And the only way we're going to make a difference, folks, we got to come out our offices, out of our chairs, and go out in the community and meet the people where they are. We need people to support the National Day of Remembrance. We've been doing it for 13 years. And all these groups, none of them have ever come out and supported. It's about educating the community, knowing where the families are so we can support them. The collaborations that I want to continue to have is the Women's Coalition for St. Croix. If for there's listening, any families impacted by violence, you can call the Women's Coalition of St. Croix, 773-9272. If you own St. Thomas, you can call the Family Resource Center. And you can also call Victims United, Inc. It looks like Ms. Bernadette didn't make it today, but her program focused on families impacted by gun violence and homicide. We need more entities. All these groups that's on this call, we got to work together. I think some of the panelists said it early. And we can't do this in a vacuum. One entity can't do it. Nobody has to hold on it. We all got to get together. And I'm hoping through Delta, we can pull all of the entities together so we can work together. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lewis. At this point, we're at the point of our wrap up, which is going to be conducted by Dr. Kimmery Ingerman. I hope she will forgive me for posting the survey because I was being told that people were starting to leave, so we wanted to catch them beforehand. So without any further ado, and then at the very end, for any of those who are interested, we'll show that video at the very end. It's only 50 seconds, but after everybody is done, we'll show that. And then if you care to see it, you can. If not, you can leave. And thank you all for your time. You have been excellent with your collaborations and your actions. And we just want to see you continue to do this great work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harris. Good day, everyone. I am Dr. Kimmery Ingerman, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences at UVI. So my college houses the Criminal Justice Department, which Eddie Gordon is indeed a senior faculty. So if any organization is interested in furthering collaborations with the criminal justice faculty or another area in the social sciences or even the liberal arts, please do reach out so that we can do so. Thank you so much, Dr. Harris, for sharing the link. We are indeed short on time, and I'm checking to see if anyone needs a few more minutes to complete the survey/evaluation. As you know, the success of any program is based on measuring its effectiveness. So we are indeed seeking your genuine feedback because it's our hope to strengthen this initiative. Your presence today tells us that you two agree that gun violence is indeed a public health crisis and you are doing your part to end it. So please let me know if anyone else needs a few minutes. You can raise your virtual hand because this is important. The survey should take about 2 minutes to complete. So I'll give you 1 more minute.
Dr. Ingerman, since we have 1 minute, can I use my president privileges to do a shameless plug? One of St. Croix Alumni's initiatives that we're going to be doing is actually having commercials running on radio and on social media, encouraging the community to do their part in stopping gun violence. And if there's anyone that wants to partner with us to do this, it obviously is not going to be free. And so any collaborations with resources to get that message out would be appreciated. And we also got a really great tidbit from Pastor T. Winkle in the chat. And his suggestion was to do some media campaigns about, showing, strong men and doing positive things. And so I think that would be a really great simultaneous or follow-up campaign with what we have in store. And so I'm just putting it out there if anybody is interested in partnering with us in reference to that. Please get in contact with us, and I'll put our, if I don't, someone will put our organization's email address in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Ingerman.
You're welcome. So I think time is up. So by now, everyone should have completed the survey. Thank you so much for taking the time to do so. And restating the key points for today, I think the overall takeaway message is we cannot eradicate gun violence in a silo. We have to come together and work as a collective unit to tackle this elephant that Santa talked about in our opening. So we all have to work together and do our part. On the call today, the emphasis was on education and training. And I hope that you heard some organizations do provide this service for free. So EFAD, and I believe Kaylin Foy talked about it. And as a researcher, I heard Dwayne talk about grant writing, and his organization knows how to apply for competitive federal funds. So everyone should jump on that opportunity. But I do encourage you to partner together because we're all in this together, and that's the only way we can address this issue. Our next roundtable 3 is scheduled for February 3rd, 2021. So you will be contacted again, and we do hope that you will come back because we'll have more action steps, and we're just going to continue this conversation, but really go into action mode. It's okay to talk, but we need to have action to support what we're doing. So save the date, February 3rd, 2021. This roundtable would not have been possible without the support of many individuals who have contributed to this event, especially Dr. Chenzira Kahina. Thank you so much, Dr. Kahina. I call you Dr. Kahina, everyone else calls you Dr. Chen, but thank you so much for the media support that you have provided for us. Because of you, we are now streaming live on YouTube. So we do appreciate the services that you have provided to Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Also, thank you to our stakeholders, our community partners, all of you here on the call. Again, you know the importance of gun violence. You saved the date, you came, some of you came at the 9th hour. You got this invitation maybe less than a week, maybe this morning, but you showed up. So thank you so much for understanding the importance of this conversation and being present. A special thank you, good afternoon, to our sorority member, Ms. Vernell De La Garde, who's representing the Virgin Islands Social Action Commission of the Eastern Region of Delta Sigma Theta. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the Social Action Committee. Your hard work has paid off. We are now enjoying the fruits of your labor, all applying that went into this event. And thank you to our listening audience, everyone present who are committed to eradicating gun violence. I turn it back over to you, Janae Joseph Smith.
Thank you so much. And again, we appreciate all of the time and effort. We are going to follow up and assist with making sure that the collaborations are happening. As Dr. Ingerman mentioned, it is critical that we not just have a conversation, but we actually do it. And so part of our role will be contacting the organizations between, excuse me, now and February to make sure that the collaborations are happening, to make sure we're providing the assistance to connect those dots, because we do not just want to have a conversation. We need to get to work, get our hands dirty, and get in there. So thank you, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and enjoy the rest of your day. And let's get to work and get this done. Have a great day. Oh, that's right. I forgot the video. Did you guys want to play the video? Does someone have that? Dr. Harris? Yeah. I feel like I need to do something so I can be a doctor as well. I need to get it together.
Dr. Chen, are we ready? Yes. Okay.
There it is.
Hello, Ward 7 faith leaders. We had an inspirational January breakfast meeting, and we want to thank Reverend Andre Ivy and the congregation at First Baptist Church of Marshall Heights for hosting the January breakfast. We also would like to thank Reverend Ivy Hilton for her moving presentation on self-care. Now we ask that you join us Saturday, February 1st, 2020 at Jones Memorial United Methodist Church, 4625 G Street Southeast, as we continue our conversation on strategies to reduce the violence in the ward. The doors will open at 8:30 a.m. for networking and breakfast, and the meeting will start promptly at 9 a.m. If you wish to attend, please contact Donita Bennett at dbennett@erfsc.org. We hope to see you there.
Okay.
If I could say, this is in context, these are our just invitational videos. We found out when we send videos as invitations, folks are more inclined to respond. So we send those out and we show clips of what happened at the last meeting.
All right, awesome. Great tidbits. And, you know, I think hopefully what we've been able to see is that this challenge that we're having is not just unique to the territory. It's happening all over. And let's just use whatever tools and skills we can to be able to conquer it. So again, thank you everyone for your time. Have an awesome, awesome day. We'll be in touch. Look out for those Delta women who are coming at you.
Thank you.